G'day guys, welcome back to How to Run a Fitness Business. I'm your host, Dan Hespe. This is presented by Onya. Today we've got Cara and Maya from Sorella. We touch on a few things, how to build a strong brand. We really delve into that, what it's actually like running a gym day to day, some of the less glamorous parts of it, as well as how to grow and expand a team. And we just touch on a lot of good entrepreneurial tips, so stay tuned and you can check those out. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you very much.
No, welcome. So for those that don't know, Cara and I run Sorella, which is a female-only gym here in Glasgow, and very strong brand, very much community-focused. Mm-hmm. Definitely got that tribe, I'd say, for sure.
Cult.
Yeah,
yep.
Cult, absolutely. Actually, I remember the first time a lot of people were seeing Sorella and the tattoos, people were like, what is this? There's definitely something going on here. People are like...
that gets a lot of attention. That gets a lot of heads turning. Everybody's always like, it's not real, is it? We're like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Can never liquidate the company now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can never change your name.
Pressure's on.
But yeah, so as sisters run a business, why don't you just kind of run us through... how you started, how you got into the industry, and then how you started Sorella.
I think I was actually thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, like, I feel like it's been such a... When you're in it, it just all kind of happens. Mm-hmm. And I think when we talked about, like, one of the things that you put by at the start was like, oh, how did it start? And like, oh, when did you decide to open a gym? But it all just kind of happened, like, almost by chance.
Yeah.
Like, I'd been working in the industry for I've been in the industry for like 10 years, 12 years actually, doing PT. I was working in gyms. Cara was living, she moved over to Miami. You were working in gyms over there. And, you know, we were kind of FaceTiming here and there going, you know, when you come back, we should do something together. We should make it like a brand. We should create something, maybe do it female only. It was your idea. Yeah. I think now, even though we can't really remember, but I think it was your idea.
Yeah.
You sent me over this studio that you could rent by the hour, and you were like, right, let's start a female only boot camp. We should do it when I move back.
It wasn't really it wasn't the fault of a gym though, was it?
No.
It was like brainstorming different kind of boot camps and like classes.
It was actually never a thought of opening a gym. Yeah. Right up until about 2 weeks before we opened, it still wasn't. We
2 weeks you're spending money on this stuff. Are we actually going to do this?
Are we going to do this?
It was like a space for, because we were working in a commercial gym and we were both really busy, and we saw this space that we rented for the boot camps come up for permanent rent. Mm-hmm. So we thought it makes more sense to just get that studio and do our PT from there. Like, I don't think even when we opened the first gym, I don't think we thought of it as like opening a gym. Mm-hmm. No. We just thought of it like it makes sense to have our own space.
Yeah. Like, I think as well, like with Sorella, like we opened in a time where it got a lot of attention, like straight up off the back, and it was totally unexpected. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not from Glasgow. Like, we were busy with PT, but we didn't have a massive social media following. We didn't have a huge network of people. Mm-hmm. We put it out there that we're running this female only boot camp, you know, once a week. You know, come bring a $5 on the day, and it just kind of exploded. Mm-hmm. Like, we weren't expecting it. You know, every boot camp was fully booked. We were talking like 40, 45 people. It was absolute carnage, and we were just like had this collection of $5 in a little money pot. And suddenly we were like, oh, we're actually making a bit of money out of this. Like, this could actually be a business. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, like, we were renting the studio by the hour. And then the landlord turned around and was like, we're looking for permanent tenants. Mm-hmm. And I think at the time we couldn't afford it.
Yeah, we didn't take it.
We were just like, no, it's a shame. We're going to have to stop the boot camp. And everybody was really gutted. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, 6 months later, the unit was still available, and we'd kind of saved up enough money to get a few bits of kit. Mm-hmm. And we were like, oh, we'll just do the boot camps in there. Mm-hmm. And right up, like we said, like 2 weeks before we moved, we were still saying to our manager in the gym, nah, we're just going to use the boot camps there. We'll still be doing PT here. We're not going to open up a gym. And it wasn't until we actually saw the space coming together that we were like, oh, this could be a gym. But this is actually quite cool. Mm-hmm. And it's just like the whole business has just been, it's just happened really organically and grown organically, and I guess kind of snowballed in that sense.
Yeah, I think when we started, there wasn't a lot of female only either. Like, I think the boot camps blew up because it was so unique.
Yeah,
and I think
we could
like,
have your point of difference, don't you?
yeah, like we'd kind of built our like female only community in the gym that we were in. So we were in a mixed gym, and we used to like take our classes in there and give them money to do like a female only class, remember?
Yeah.
So we already kind of had that little community. So I think then when we moved it to a space that was like actually female only.
Yeah, like exclusive.
Yeah, it was kind of like before it had kind of started. So I think like that niche really helped us as well at the start.
Yeah, I know. It all just, it grew naturally. I think we opened, obviously, like the biggest thing for us was we opened the gym, and then 3 weeks later, COVID hit.
Shit. Right, okay.
And we had to close it.
Yeah.
But it was like bittersweet because like we were in this position where we'd put like all our savings, all our investments into this space. COVID hit, had to close. Everybody's kind of saying to us, "Oh, but you put away savings for a rainy day for this," and we're like, "Our savings are in the gym." Like, but so it was like a really scary, uncertain time. But the positive of it was that then when gyms opened again after COVID, the fitness industry just exploded.
Yeah, I think people were looking to get back into communities and groups and get out there and do something.
It totally boomed. And I think like that kind of coming off the back of that, and, you know, spending the months during COVID on kind of building the brand, we did some online stuff, you know, we created this community that was sitting there ready to go. Then you open your doors and everything just exploded. Like we were totally mobbed. And I think that was like such a blessing as well, because then that was probably in the first few weeks post-COVID was when we were really sitting back and being like, no, this is good. Like we're sitting on something really good here. You know, with regard to the brand, the studio was like, you know, we put a lot of effort into creating a really, you know, slick, cool space. And we were kind of just on the cusp of, you know, we're the industry where everybody had kind of not quite stepped into opening their own units yet. There was a few independent gyms operating in Glasgow, but it wasn't like there was a gym on every corner. So we were still kind of within that time frame where like not a lot of people were doing it.
Yeah.
So people were really, really excited about the concept of being like, wow, it's like a private gym. It's a really cool space. There's cool signage. There's cool lighting. It's a cool brand. It's a community feel. I want to be a part of that. So like in that way, it just kind of, it just happened really, really naturally.
Yeah. I think the classes as well, wasn't it? Like obviously post-COVID, people were like, I think that's when it kind of went into this whole like class-based gyms and studios and group training started because people wanted to train together because you hadn't done so for so long.
Yeah.
So that's like post-COVID when the classes started getting busier and everything kind of grew from there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think one thing I've noticed with you guys as well is like you have like a wide spectrum of abilities in your gym.
Yeah.
Like I think you hear it all the time when there's like a private gym that's kind of, it's definitely not elitist, but people might from the outside might go, oh, I don't know, like I need to be fit to go there, which as we both know in this industry, like that's the complete opposite reason of why you shouldn't go there.
Yeah.
You should definitely just go. But I think by being female only, you almost have that kind of space where women that potentially haven't been to a gym a lot or go to a commercial gym and don't really know what they're doing, they feel comfortable going in
100%.
with you guys. And I think that's a big bonus for you.
Yeah.
Well, I think like for us, like the female only, like people always ask us about the female only thing. And I think like the biggest thing when you think about female only is like, oh, you're excluding men. It's like, oh no, we don't want to train with men, but it's not about that. Like for us, like making the decision to be female only was for the reason of creating that safe like community feel where like, but in an inspiring environment. Like female, when you look at female-only gyms, you know, before we opened, we were looking at female-only gyms and, you know, we were looking at this place that was like, you're almost marketing them as like, oh, you're intimidated to go to the gym. So come to us where you won't be intimidated.
Yeah, it's a bit more placid. Oh, yeah, okay, come in. Like there's a chain in Australia, I don't even know if they're still open, but they're called Fernwood. And it was targeted towards like middle-aged women, like gym's not for you, come here, we can just control this environment, it's nice, it's easy, it's not too hard, you won't sweat too much, whereas you guys are complete opposite, no, well let's fucking go, get in here and let's do it.
And I think that's what we wanted to create, like we wanted the brand message to be that if you're a 60-year-old woman, if you're an 18-year-old girl, if you're a mum of 3, if you're a independent business owner, like it doesn't matter. We're all in here for the same reason and we're all going to put a shift in and train hard and, you know, inspire each other and motivate each other.
Yeah.
And that was like the biggest thing with the message, with the brand and the brand message. And like you say, like we have been lucky that we have attracted that. Like a lot of the time people go, you know, when we opened, it's a very kind of like, it's a slick brand, or you going for a certain clientele, or you want it to be really Instagrammable, you want this. No, we just want we don't care. As long as you're in and you want to put a shift in, you want to work hard, you're welcome here. You're part of the community. Like as soon as you're through those doors, like you're part of it. Like you'll be treated the same as everybody else.
I know. I think I found that like in working in gyms, you know, for a decade, and both here and in Australia, like that's one thing I've always found is like, I think before I was working in the industry, you'd look at gyms like that and you'd be like, you know, look at yourself or look at any gym that's very specific in a niche. You're like, oh, there must be a particular type of person that goes there. But then the more you work in it, the more you're like, there's all sorts of random people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, from different cultural backgrounds, everything. But the one common thing is they all just want to come together and get a sweat. They enjoy working out. It's how they find their community.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that we say with social media as well, isn't it? Like on social media, you want to try and include that and show that the best that you can. And I think the best way is just to like get in. Like when you come in person, we still get that now and again, that you'll get the odd person that messages saying, you know, everyone looks like they train really hard. Will I manage? Will I make it? And they do a class and then instantly they'll message us and be like, oh my God, like it was amazing. Everyone's so welcoming. Like I wish I'd come before.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, you know, really encouraging people to just come in and just do it.
Absolutely.
I think like that's what like with the, you know, with the broad spectrum of people as well, like, you know, like the female only thing for us, like, you know, again, like when we started, it was such a, like we got loads of people saying you're excluding like half the market. Like, you know, you're missing out on 50% in the market that could be coming into your gym and making money. But it's like we wouldn't be where we are now if we hadn't taken that leap to be like, this is our USP. You know, that this is why we're doing what we're doing, and it's paid off like in absolute tenfolds.
100%.
Absolutely. Like it's if you went the full spectrum, then you dilute your brand, and then you're not going to be specific and be able to dominate a niche. So, touching on members coming in, like how does that work? So, like, how do you onboard and bring a new member into your gym? Because obviously, first impressions are massive for anyone coming into a gym.
Yeah.
You want them little things like you want them to be in a busy class, but not completely overwhelming.
Yeah.
You want it to be interesting. I always found that I'd try to partner them up with a member who's just chatty. You're like, oh, meet so-and-so and they'll help you and that kind of thing. So do you have any protocols, any processes you go through?
I think with us, we're lucky that, like, again, like, I think, it's with any gym, it starts with, like, you know, it starts from the top and it filters down. So it's like you lead by example. But, like, we're lucky in the sense that, like, the kind of dynamic that we've created is like the girls are just super welcoming. So like you'll see it all the time that someone will walk into the first class, you know, I'll be busy setting up and then I'll come up and I'll already see that like half our members are going over and starting a conversation with them. And it does still, like, so every now and then, like, I'll reach out to, or I'll say to a member after, like, thanks for doing that. Like, that speaks volumes. Like, to notice that somebody is standing there and you can tell that it's their first class or something, and you've taken it upon yourself to go over and talk to them, like, that means a lot. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, that's just what we do.
Yeah, I'm not going to be an arsehole.
And for them, it's second nature. But for a lot of people in a lot of standard gyms, if you were to walk into a pure gym, like, that's not going to happen. Like, you're lucky if you're going to have somebody even make eye contact with you through your class. So, like, I think, like, we are lucky in that sense. However, like, I think as a gym owner, like, it's on you as well to make that conscious effort to being like, you know, you do need to make that person feel welcome and feel, you know, like, comfortable. However, if you create a dynamic that's like that 24/7 and you're like that with all your members, it comes second nature, doesn't it? Like, I think that's like, it's definitely like something that's at the core and something that you need to keep reiterating. And I think as a business owner, loads of stress on that with your staff, with your clients. You know, talk about your ethos, talk about what you stand for, talk about, you know, like, you know, even make a point of it, of being like, well done, so-and-so, it was your first class, you smashed it. And then that encourages everybody else to be like, oh, well then, that was your first class, like, well done. And it's having the confidence to do that, I think, as a business owner, and being, like, on it with your staff, with being like, it doesn't matter if you've had a shit day, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, if you're tired or whatever, you can see on the system that person is new, it's their first class. make an effort to, you know, go over and speak to them and make them feel welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those ones, isn't it? Like we've all had our first day at school, our first day at a thing or whatever, and like I always just try to put yourself in their shoes and go, oh shit, they must be feeling a bit apprehensive, and you just try to go over and break the ice.
Yeah, I think because we've been there as well. Like we spoke about it recently, didn't we? Because I think that was one thing that we really noticed when we worked in commercial gyms was like I remember taking the classes and you did feel like, you know, people were on opposite sides of the room and no one was talking and everyone's on their phones, like. And that's like because I remember like not only taking classes in that environment but also like being a member in those environments. That is why like we've always put such an emphasis on that. Yeah. Of being bubbly, of speaking to everyone, of making sure everyone's chatting when you come in. Like it's from those experiences.
But it does, like I think it's nice as a gym owner. I think it's good to ask for feedback because every now and then, like I remember. Like every now and then members will say things to you and you're like, wow, like even I remember a member saying to me a couple of years ago that on her first class she came on her own and she was walking up the stairs to the gym and this girl that was also going to the gym started talking to her. And she said she kept thinking like this girl must think I'm someone else because she's talking to me like she's known me for years. And then she was like, when I came to the class, I've realised, oh, that's just what people are like. Like they're super friendly, they're super welcoming, like they're just nice, like a nice group of girls. And like every now and then when you hear things like that, it just gives you that like, you know, like, oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that
so
like
nice.
that, you know, people are, you know, like that you have created this like just sound community.
Yeah. And I think, to be honest, I think it just comes from, like, it's a testament to yourselves. Like, it just comes from you guys. I think any gym, you know, I speak to gym owners all the time and it always just comes from the top down. Like, if you don't have that, those interpersonal skills and going out and being outgoing and it just might not be the thing for you. You might not want to open a gym or you might want to handle operations or you might be more into the technicality of the coaching, but it's like if you've got a community-based business, then it's like you need to kind of be the focal point.
Yeah,
definitely. And I think the brand, like when you've got like, it's like if you like, like if you've got a brand that preaches that and everything, you know, around your brand and your message, you know, portrays that, then that reflects as well with members, with coaches, with everything.
Yeah. And I think we're coming back as well. It's like remembering how you feel when you go to a place. Like I think that's the whole, you know, you can look really good on Instagram and have cool lighting and have cool signage, but the reason you're going to keep coming back is how you feel and how welcomed you are, and because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Right, let's dive into, because obviously, like you said, you kind of fell into it. You're kind of, oh shit, right, we've got something here. Let's do it. How did you then go about almost kind of formalising the business in a sense of being like, I imagine early on it was you were both just kind of taking as many classes as possible, kind of going away, and then you're like all gym owners, and then you're like, shit, I'm taking like 60 hours a week of classes. And then so how did that transition go from kind of doing everything in the business to then getting staff members on, allocating some of the tasks within the business? How did that go just from a technical standpoint, but then also like how did you feel kind of letting go of the reins a little bit?
Yeah. It's a slow process, wasn't it?
It's a never-ending struggle, I think. And I think that's something that like you realise, like we took people on pretty fast. So like I had a good friend that was in the industry, and you know I'd kind of said to her from the get-go, once things are up and running, so she came on pretty fast. You know, then again we reached capacity. Like we do a lot of personal training in Sorella. There's a lot of one-to-one coaching, even though the business model is class-based and small group PT based. There's a high demand for one-to-one coaching. So the biggest thing that we were finding was like we were like full with one-to-one, the classes were full, and then we had this waiting list of people that wanted coaching, so we just kept kind of naturally bringing coaches on. However, it took us a long time to probably get to a point where we started like being like, right, we need help with the classes, the business side of things, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think like the main focus for taking, obviously not wanting to do 100 hours of classes a week, but also I think there was a bit of a divide at the start. So me and Maya and Lizzie were taking a lot of classes, and it kind of felt like all the members kind of knew us from taking the classes, and then you had this like whole other community of girls that were just coming in for one-to-ones and weren't really a part of the gym. So I think it was then when we were like, you know, it would be great to get some of the coaches involved in taking classes so that everyone knows each other and it wasn't this divide of, you know, we're taking the classes, we know all these girls, then we don't really know who that is coming in for their session. So it kind of progressed from there, I guess.
Yeah. I think that like that progressed, and that was like that all again happened really well and happened naturally. I think the thing that we probably have always struggled with is then like when it's your business and you know how you want things to be run, to let go of the reins and like trust somebody else to come in and do that is like really difficult. And you know, for us, like again, like everything happened quite organically, it happened quite naturally. We had a bunch of PTs in, we were noticing some really, really excel, you know, go the extra mile to help out with things. And not only did we want to kind of reward them for that, but we also were like, we're at a point that we need help. We need somebody to do our social media, we need someone doing our marketing, we need someone doing our office work, we need somebody running the small group PT. So, you know, we then brought a couple of them on and asked them to take on those roles. And I think at first, what that probably did was create more work because you're then trying to micromanage and they're off doing work and then you're wanting to check everything. But in reality, you just need to let them go with it. And like, and when we did eventually do that and, you know, kind of bring someone on that was working full time doing, you know, our kind of management, all around stuff, social media, everything, it was amazing for us, you know, because not only did we have that kind of stress taken off our shoulders and we could focus on, you know, other things that we were like more needed for, but, you know, you also have this fresh, you know, set of ideas that brought a lot to the business and, you know, things that, you know, and I think for us, like what we've realised and, you know, being, you know, when you do get in a business and it happens naturally like that, you learn so much along the way. And one of the biggest lessons for us is that you can't be amazing at everything. So like you need to have people that you can rely on for other things. And you cannot run a business or a successful business at least single-handedly. And even though me and Cara have got completely different skill sets and we work really well together because you bring a different set of skills than what I do and vice versa, you know, there are things that we are just point blank not going to be amazing at. So why try and spend loads of time to educate yourself to be amazing at something when you could just bring someone else on that is amazing at it?
Yeah.
And then suddenly you've got this, like, and we have got such an amazing team. Like, you know, right now, you know, we're at a stage nearly like 4.5 years in where we've got this absolutely solid team that bring like so much diversity and different skills from everything, and it's an absolute godsend when it comes to running a business. Opposed to like trying to do everything yourself and doing everything at an okay level but doing nothing amazingly.
Absolutely. I think I remember reading a book once and I think the book was called Who Not How, and it was like rather than trying to figure out like how do I do this, it's just like who can I get to do this, and it makes such a difference. And obviously, like you touched on, every business gets to a point where it goes, you know, out of necessity you're doing everything and then you go, right, this isn't sustainable. But I think that is something that gyms do really struggle with, is trying to find the right staff, because it is quite like it's quite a fluid environment. You know, someone. I think overall in the industry, I don't know what it is, but I imagine there's, you know, some people would be, you know, they jump into it for 2 years and then they kind of go back and do a different job and all that kind of stuff. And so like it is quite a difficult thing to kind of to manage. So is there been anything that you've learned that you would advise another gym owner in terms of like holding staff or processes you put in place, or, you know, do you incentivize your staff in any way, or do you just go like... I
think the biggest thing that like we've learned and like is that like you when we were holding interviews at first, you're holding interviews and you're going over things like experience, you know, skills, like things like that really just mean nothing. And like I think like I read a book as well by Simon Sinek. Sinek, is that his name? Simon Sinek.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, we'll go with that.
And it was like why, or find your why or something. And it was talking about hiring staff and the core of like when you're creating a brand. And for us, like our brand is so strong, our brand values are so strong, everything, you know, is orientated around the brand. Like that you need to hire staff that share the same like why is you. So like why, like we're like, for example with Sorella, we're so passionate about what we do. The why we do it is at the core of our brand, you know, like female empowerment, like community, like all these things, and you need your staff to share that same why as you. And if they do, then they want to be part of it, and and they're passionate about it. Like that's the thing. Like that's the reason that our staff have the name of the gym tattooed on them. It's not because it's like, oh, I want to get the name of the gym tattooed on me. It's because they're so passionate about what the brand represents, being part of that you'll literally ink it onto your skin permanently.
I don't think I've ever seen a pure gym.
I know, like it is. Like I think that is what that's what the
biggest thing, isn't it?
And then like diving a little bit deeper into the brand. So like when you started, like you said at the beginning, you kind of fell into it and you're like, all right, let's build a brand out of this. But at the start, you were kind of very focused on, right, we need to have a brand here.
Yeah.
And do you attribute that, because it's very much a lot of these things will start in like the US or elsewhere and then find themselves in the UK. Did you find a lot of that in Miami, for example? You're like, there's a lot of very brand focused things, facilities, that kind of stuff.
I mean, I think obviously Sorella's sister, like that's how it all started, wasn't it? And I think it all kind of came from us and having that like our personal bond and like our love for training. Like I don't think, I wouldn't say at the time it was kind of inspired by that and a strong brand that we were inspired by. I think it was more like kind of a gap in the market.
It's what represented us.
It's what represented us. And it was like, as we say, like it was such a like gradual process of building the brand that it wasn't like back then when we were planning it wasn't like we were sitting down and like, right, we need this, we need that. Like we had this like yellow logo, remember, that was like nothing like it is now.
Yeah, we had the name. The name again, Cara came up with, and she nailed it. Yeah. Like, because our background is Italian, and I don't know why. Like when we were speaking on FaceTime, and Cara's in Miami, and I'm going, we need a name, and then we hung up, and then she phoned me back, and she was like, Sorella, I mean sister in Italian, Sorella strength, and. I was like, that way when you hear it, you're like, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good. We're on something here. And it's cool. And we dropped the strength and called it Sorella. It used to be Sorella Strength. It was a yellow kind of like tie-dye logo. We had yellow mats. And then obviously when it started to grow, like we did, we've done it. We did sit down with a marketing company. People say all the time, like our logo is like, it's plain. It's black with a white lettering. It cost us thousands of pounds. Like it was the first thing we did. We sat down with a marketing company and we were like, we want something slick, we want something that represents it, we want something that people want to wear, that they want to and weeks and weeks of meetings, you come up with this and we're like, it's amazing. But it's so simple. And I think that is the thing, like it's simple, it's a simple word, but that is like, like a lot of the time people don't even know what it means, but they're like, wow, it's a cool brand. But I think that is like you were saying, like the brand, it was a representation of us and it came naturally. We didn't have to like adopt any kind of characteristics or anything. Like it was very much, obviously you go places and you're inspired and you take things and, we were kind of like, you came back from Miami and you were like training in all these really cool gyms, Equinox and all places like that were beautiful gyms. And that was, I guess, in that way, okay,
there was a gap for it in Glasgow,
But it wasn't really like we were like, oh wow, we want to take that and open it up here or like something like that. It was just kind of like it started with a community vibe. It started with a brand that represented both of us, and like we said, it just kind of grew.
From that, I gather like it comes from like the word that comes to mind is authenticity. It just comes from, and then it becomes natural for you guys to be able to embody the brand because it is authentic, because it's just you guys.
100%. And I think that should be at the core of every gym, every business. Like at the bottom line is actually giving a shit and caring. And I think that's what that is what makes it so different. And when, like I said, like when we started, we came into this like kind of like quite quick like success, like so to say, like it was busy, loads of people were shouting about it, and that like attracted quite a lot of attention from like investors. And at the time, like obviously you've got like me and Cara, the face of it, you've got this female only brand, people hadn't really seen it done in that way before, especially not in Scotland. And like we got quite a lot of like big offers of people being like, let's invest, I want to invest X amount and open these in 5 different cities. Like, let's go all in with this. And you know, like sometimes you look back and you think, oh, should have done that. And then sometimes, but the majority of the time you look back and we go, but it would have lost what it is. Like, and even now, like, you know, like couple of years in, we looked at units in Edinburgh. We started looking at units in Manchester. We started like looking at different places and going, how can we grow? And then realising that like, thinking, how are we going to keep that same, you know, authenticity that we have with this one gym in different locations if we're not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the problem. I think a lot of gym owners face that, is that like, how do you grow it when you can't be in 10 different places in one time?
I know. I think I was literally just talking in the car here. I was talking to someone about this. And it's like, you can't replicate the community. Like the unique selling point of Sorella is, you know, it's the brand, but it's also the community of those. It's yourselves, it's the girls that go there. It's all the community, and community-based gyms have got so much more leverage over like a, you know, an F45 or a Barry's, for example, that have rolled out. But what they've got is, you know, they've got like it's not so much more anymore, but they had a very unique product to begin with, and they had the capital to roll it out. Whereas I think, I suppose if you look at it this way, like you've only got so much community, and then the further you dilute it out, the less community goes into places. Like that's how I think of it anyway. Like if you can't just pick that up and put it somewhere else.
I think again, it like the only way that you can, and I think is like something that we're, you know, always working on, is that kind of brand. And like, and I think that's like, you know, like obviously you hear it everywhere with gyms. You know, community-based brand, like CrossFit did it, you know, CrossFit, every CrossFit gym, everybody's welcome, you know, that was the whole brand, that's why. And I guess it worked, you know, they're massive, they've got like, you know, affiliate gyms on every corner. And I think like if that's your plan, and your plan is like, I want to take this into 10 different locations and create that same community feel, your brand needs to be bulletproof. Like your brand needs to be, no one's coming to that gym unless they are a woman that supports other women. Like unless you are a team player, unless you are like, and it's never going to be the same if you're not there, of course not. But I think if you create a strong enough brand, and that takes a lot of work, you know, you're on the right track to being able to replicate it the best you can.
It just takes a lot of time.
Takes a lot of time.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing I wanted to touch on was, so you've got the physical location here in Glasgow, and then you also do a lot of stuff online. So like, I know you've got like a Sorella program online, and then do you do individual coaching online as well? Like how do you set that up? And then what sort of percentage of revenue would you say that is, like online compared to in physical location?
Yeah, it's something that the online stuff is something that we're like more recently putting time into. Like obviously the way that things went, like the actual in-person stuff took so much more of our focus. And I think it's something that we've always kind of known that we should be doing. But as we say, like our priority was like building that community and building the brand first to then be able to move it online and also like reach so many other women in different cities. So we've, you know, more recently put time and effort into that.
It's like, I think with the online platform, like we were quite hesitant with it at first. We fought it quite a lot because like we love, like for me personally, I think for you as well, like we enjoy the in-person stuff a lot more. Like it's a lot more rewarding. And again, like that community, it's really hard to replicate that online. Like how do you create a community, you know, online? But you're just, if you don't do it, you're missing out on like a massive stream of income. And like, you know, that's where we were at. Like we kind of, before we really put a lot of effort into the online stuff and went in that, we were kind of torn between two, weren't we? We were either going to go all in with the merch and be like, this is a clothing, you know, a gym wear line, we're going all in with that, or we're going to go all in with the online stuff. We can't do both. Like we need, the gym's running itself, it's pretty sweet now. Like what's our next focus on? And you were talking the difference of maybe 150k startup for a merch company to more or less zero, you know, overheads with the online stuff.
Got all the resources of all the programming you've done for years,
it's all
and
there.
you've got it there.
And you know, other than employing someone or bringing someone on to take control with it, and you know the app development and stuff, you know, we like, which is a monthly subscription for us. You're talking overheads, and even in comparatively to a gym, you know, like I always think that now when I look at like people that are opening gyms, and I just think like if we didn't have such a strong brand, I don't know if I would do it again. Like, because it's not easy. Like, you know, when you start looking at like the overheads of a gym, units, you know, electricity, rates, all these things, insurance, like all these things that just add up, you know, it's really difficult to make, to be like making decent money unless, you know, you've got a really, really strong brand or you've got multiple locations. Like, and when you look at that comparatively to an online business, you know, where you can do it anywhere in the world, you can sit on your laptop, it seems on paper like it just makes sense. It's a no-brainer. But again, it's really hard to get it right, and it's really hard to compete with, you know, your big online platforms, your influencers that are selling apps. That's where it's difficult because everybody's doing online coaching now.
Yeah, I think we're trying to like do it a little bit differently of the monthly program. So rather than just doing your, you know, one-to-one online coaching, we've got our monthly program. So that's almost like a group online PT. So it means that weekly your workouts are changing, you've got your group chat, you've got your app that you're tracking it all in. So I think for us, like, that has meant that, you know, it's not just a personal online coaching service, but you're still training with Sorella. So, you know, you've got your Sorella coaches, you're all in a group chat, you're talking to the other women that are in it. So that was kind of our closest thing to going online, but also still having that like community feel to it.
You're all doing the same workout. So like with your monthly program, and you've got your people following a strength plan, your people following a performance plan, you know, and you've got that like community feel because you've got a group of, say, however many people following each one. So you're saying, oh, I hit a PB this week. You know, how did you find this workout? And like that way, it's not, you know, you can kind of replicate that community feel. Online, it's just not. It's never going to be the same. But it's accepting that it's different doesn't mean it's better or worse. But I think that, you know, it's definitely a no-brainer. And I think for us now, you know, we've definitely realised that if you'd asked us 4 years ago, like, what's your plan? We would have been like, we want 10 gyms. We want 10 gyms. Let's go hard or go home. Let's go all in. Now, fuck that. No thanks. Like having one is stressful enough. Like, and I think that's you kind of make that choice. Like, what you want. Like, if you're looking for like best way to make money with the least stress, bringing in that online platform of things, it's a no-brainer.
And there's such a demand for it. There is a demand for it. I think, like, if you're an in-person trainer, like, you enjoy that style of training, like, you don't think there is, but people love it. Like, people love going in and having that structure, having that accountability, and do it for years and years. And I think it is growing so much.
And I think the way you guys did it, well, do you think your online coaching would be as successful if you hadn't put in the 4 years of building a brand?
No, definitely not.
Because then you're starting from scratch and people are like, oh, who are these?
You skip
all these
it.
sisters doing this? What's going on here? Okay, whereas you've got the whole brand.
Yeah, you skip it and you see it all the time. Like, people don't want to go in and get a gym and go to a gym and build a client base, so they're just like, oh, I'm an online coach now. But like with absolutely no, you know, zero credit behind them of being a one-to-one coach. And I don't think you can be a good online coach if you've not done your time being a one-to-one coach and understanding people's relationships with training, movement, like all these things. And it's very different getting yourself in shape and maintaining being in shape and training hard and doing comps and doing what you do and coaching people to do that. It's completely different.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's always a bit of a thing, isn't it? Where I think, you know, someone might look great online and you're like, wow, geez, yeah, they must have a great program. They really know what they're doing. But you're like, well, they might be a terrible coach. Like, you don't, and vice versa, you don't necessarily need to be in amazing shape to be the best coach either. Like, it works both sides.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing with the online coaching side of things. It is what is the core of it though is like people are going to invest in people. Like everybody is selling an online plan, everybody's selling programming, everybody's selling 12-week summer shred packages. It's ultimately people are going to invest in you. So I think like when it comes to the online coaching thing, the biggest thing that we've learned is like, it's preaching like your core values online and your social media and your brand needs to reflect that. And that's what make people invest in you.
Yeah, you're still building that relationship.
Because there's only so different you can make an online plan. Like if you're good at programming, your program's going to be similar to, 100,000 other people's program.
Absolutely.
So it's like if you're going down the online focus, it's it's essentially selling yourself, your values, your brand, and something that they want to be a part of. And having the base and having the gym and having the gym's success and reputation, I don't think we would be anywhere near as successful as the online platform is without that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. I think it is all about brand online because
100%.
they're buying into exactly who you guys are, your brand. That's what it is. Even if you're someone who's an Ironman coach or whatever, they're buying into your way of the way that you think about doing Ironman coaching. And I guess it's just how you communicate that. And I think that's the thing as well. Like, a lot of coaches are always reluctant to get on social media and post stuff and all that kind of stuff. And like, they just, I don't know what to do, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How did you find that journey? Because you guys have done really well on social media. You've got like we've touched on, to almost to the death of it with the brand. Like, it's all about brand. How did you guys kind of get into that? Did you go, right, we need to have some structure around this? Did you just kind of same sort of thing? Did you just fall into it and go, all right, we'll make sure we do X, Y, Z? Do you have like a structure of, I want to make sure I do this, this, and this?
We do now.
Yeah, we do. We definitely winged it at the start. It definitely it was a bit of a free-for-all at the start, but I think now we definitely have structure with it.
Yeah.
I think just like the main thing is like showing, as we said, like what we're about and actually showing like how authentic the gym is and what the vibe is when you're in there, and obviously now like the talking videos and actually like speaking and showing people.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think now, because we run 3 different, like the online brand is separate from Sorella, and we've also got our group PT, Project Peach, which are, so we're essentially running 3 different, one main brand and 2 that have come off the back of that. And, we sit down with the girls that run the online and the girl that runs our group PT for us, like, regularly, and just go back, like, what are we bringing? Like, what's our message? And how do we tie everything that we do into this message? And we do that now in much more structured ways. Like, what is, again, like the last few months, we've tied everything back to, like, why do we do it? Like, everything, every message, educational, funny, whatever it is tying back to like our core values, our why. And, we run that in different campaigns going like the next few months we're going to focus on this. And if the following few months we're going to focus on this and tie everything back, because otherwise it just becomes a free-for-all. And it becomes like you want to do so much that you do nothing. And I think that's the thing that we probably struggle with and we talk about a lot is like running all these different platforms and social media. Like you're so caught up on your brand and being like, I need to post regularly on my brand. I need to be active. I need to be like marketing. And then you've also got your own personal brands or social media, because I don't know about you, but like for us, our social media is, the purpose of it is for our brand. It's for the gym. And it is authentic to us, but it's equally, we're not... our social media is not like a social thing. It's for the business. So, then you're like, oh, I need to run my brand social media, but I also need to be active on my own personal one. And then I also have these other social medias for the online, for Project Peach. Like, it becomes overwhelming, so you need a structure.
And then so you guys have got someone that handles that for you?
We've got people on, so like the thing that we found with like when we started branching out, we separated the small group PT, we opened up a separate unit for that. And we realised then like it's not maintainable to do this on our own, so we brought someone in. And then the same with the online, we want to go all in with this, we want it to be constantly posting on social media, so again we brought someone in for that.
And then we take charge of
the main
page.
I think it's like but again, like for us with that, like it was people that we saw potential in, people that were working within the business that we realised. And like that's the thing, when you've got employees, you've got people working for you, like the risk that you run, especially in any industry, but in the fitness industry, is like, our coaches are great coaches and they're all doing, like I say this to people all the time, our coaches are all doing a minimum of 30 hours a week PT. Like that's a lot of PT. Like that's enough money to be easily setting aside money and just opening up your own place. So like what keeps people there? Like they want to be part of the brand, but also like we've seen these people that have got incredible business potential. And, if they want to go off and do their own thing, that's fine. Good for you. Like, we will support you. There's no bad blood. But equally, rather than that, like, do something with us. Like, how can we make this work that your hard work is going to be reflective in, like, what you get out of that? And what we found, which was, I guess, a risk at first, was rather than focusing on like, let's pay them a big salary or do this, let's give them a percentage of that business so that they are motivated. Like, you know, you've either got this person that's amazing at online coaching, that's amazing at all, you know, the technical side of things, marketing. She's either going to go off and do that on her own, which is great. But we're in a position where we want to put time into that. We don't have the physical time. So what's the sacrifice of giving away a small percentage of the business so that they're motivated, they're in, like they've got shares, and their effort is going to be reflected in what they get back from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's all part of the brand.
Yeah, they're part of it. You know, they're part of it.
And responsibility.
And I sometimes think, oh my God, I wish that could be me. Like, I wish I could just be part of it and not have like the pressure and the stress. Like, and I think like that's one thing for us. Like when we worked for other people, we still gave 100%. Like we worked for the gym. We worked for a commercial gym in town, and we were doing our bit. We were getting the members. We loved being part of a team, but it just wasn't right. We weren't passionate about the brand. We didn't care. Like, so like if when we created Sorella, we were like, oh, how good is this? Like you can come in, be part of something amazing, and you can go home and switch off.
Yeah. I know. I think it's interesting. Like I think a lot of people like, in business, naturally they think of, oh, the success of a business is measured on how much money you make. But it's like, when you think about it, like, if you zoom out, like, you girls have created, like, such an amazing community, and you just think, I always think, like, if you think back of, like, every single person you've probably interacted with through Sorella, through PT, everything over the years, you're like, how many little ripple effects have you knocked on to, you know, improving so many people's lives? That's, I think, the thing that motivates a lot of people, and then they don't really... you know, when they go into business for themselves, it's always very much like, shit, I need to keep the doors open. I need to focus on making money. I need to increase revenue. I need to make, I need to put my membership up. I need to get more members, all this kind of stuff. And it kind of gets lost in the weeds of like, oh shit, we've built this amazing team. You get to help these girls that want to be a part of something, and you get to create the work environment that I assume you guys would have loved. You're like, we want to be the bosses that we wish we had.
It needs to be about more than the money always, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like
totally.
It needs to be like, it's, you know, it's never, obviously we want it to be so successful and grow, but it's always about more than that. And it is like, as you say, like, you know, that was always in the back of our mind with having that workspace that people do want to be a part of and are inspired by, and it is so much more than that.
Yeah, and I think that's what we always, like, we craved that. So like, we got to a point that we were like, you know, we love what we do. We just hate the environment that we do it in. So like, we're either going to just keep going with it, or we need to create it. But I do think like that is like, it's something that's just not like, you don't realize it because you don't show it. Like as a business owner, like the other side to business, you know, and that's what like, I speak to Sundays every now and then. You speak to people about it. Like you'll speak to your like. The girl that owns your salon and the hairdressers, and you're all going through it. Like you're all sitting there as business owners, and on the surface, everyone's like, "Oh, it's amazing." You know, they've got 13 PTs. They've grown so much. Like you're so busy with, but then you don't see the side, which is like you're going home at night and like you don't switch off, and like you know, like you've like if there is like a leak in the roof, or like the toilets are blocked, or like you know things like that like it comes down to you. And that is something that I think, like, you, regardless of how prepared you are going into business, you can't prepare for that because you're just constantly preparing for the unexpected. Like, anything could happen.
Yeah.
And I think that is, like, that's what, you know, it's, you wouldn't change it. Like, we love what we do and we wouldn't have it any other day. Like, especially with the business that we run, like, it's unbelievably rewarding. Like you say, like, you don't, I said to someone the other day, like, about doing a bit of charity work, and I said, I just want to do something that gives back, and one of the members was like, that's what you do day in, day out. And you're like, oh yeah, it is. Like, you know, you forget sometimes like what an impact creating that environment has on people, you know, like life-changing stuff. Because it's been that for us, you know, like training and finding that community. It is life-changing and it is super rewarding. And I think that's why you like you say, like, you have to love it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's just cool when, like, it's like anything. When someone just creates something and then it becomes something, you're like,
Yeah.
fuck,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I know.
Like, and it could be, could be anything, a little cafe someone do, but then all of
Totally.
a sudden, like, it just becomes the center of someone's community or life or
Yeah.
even, it's just.
I think it's like
just fucking
incredibly
cool.
important as like a human being. I think like we crave purpose. Like you have that, like, I think for me, definitely, like we spoke about it the other week. Like I was saying, like when I worked in gyms, I just felt like oh, I've got more in me. Like, and when I feel like you don't ever, like if you never like experience what your true potential is, your life becomes so, it's really difficult to like find joy and like and purpose in life. And I think, like you say, like regardless of what it is, whether it's like opening up a little cafe, whether it's like, finding a hobby that you're passionate about, if you can create something that gives you purpose in life, like that's what it's all about.
100%. Absolutely. Right. Final thing. If you could go back and do it all again, what would you change? Or maybe I'll phrase it slightly differently. What one piece of advice would you give to someone opening a gym in 2 weeks' time?
I think that you just can't prepare. And I think that's the bottom line. Like, like in business, like I said, regardless of how much experience that you've got, like when we started, we kept talking about the fact that we're not experienced in business. Like I had a couple of like wee businesses before, and obviously we both ran our own personal training business, but we had no experience in running a brand. But you just can't prepare for it. You learn everything on the job, and every mistake that you make is so crucial and important for your journey. Like you can't do it any other way. Like I would say that like the one piece of advice I would give people specifically in gyms is like, find a brand and find a niche. I see it all the time, and like these little places will open up and these gyms will open up, and I'm like, it's an amazing concept, but the brand is not strong. Like when you're 50 years old, what are you going to do? Because that brand, nobody's going to come on and be like, I want to take that brand off your hands. Like, whereas like you need to create something that's bigger than you. You need to not run with your ego, and you need to go like, this is something, look at the brand as something separate. Like this is something that people want to be a part of, whether I'm there or not. And I think that's the biggest thing that I think I would say to people is like, you need to find that, write down what your values are and refer everything back to that. Otherwise you're going to be coaching in the gym that you own forever.
Yeah, I think like similar, like obviously taking on a team and, not try to take everything on yourself. And that's something that obviously we did, I think you can't not start yourself. You're not going to have this amazing team straight away. But I think at least having a plan of doing that, or having a plan of building something that's bigger than just you, and also staying authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
And, not getting distracted with trends and what everyone else is doing, which is so easy to do, and it's so easy to get caught up in. And, seeing, right, okay, High Rocks gyms, like, like taking on something that's short term. And I think that's something that, like, we often remind ourselves of is, like, stay true to, like, the style of training that you love and the type of person that you love, and don't get distracted by what anyone else is doing. And that way, like, it's always going to be successful if you're preaching what you truly believe in and are passionate about.
Yeah,
absolutely. Fantastic. Job done. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
That was the easiest podcast I've done, because you ask one question, you just go.
We can talk.
Ideal. Perfect. Awesome. Well, anyone that wants to check him out online, Sorella. Check out the online coaching. Maybe if you're a bloke, don't go to the gym, can't go there, but that's all right. But yeah, so check him out online, and yeah, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Like I said, that was